For a long time, this sculpture was just called Untitled, 1941. And then we found a list that Calder had made from an exhibition, and he wrote vertical foliage on the list. And it was sort of just like a description, because he didn't make the sculpture, he didn't like see a bush or a tree that had foliage and rush back to his studio and make something inspired by it, abstract this vision that he had. That wasn't his process. His process was to be in his studio, and just whatever came through him in that moment was what he made. And then after he made it, he would title them. But vertical foliage is a work that he kept for himself. It was in his house in Roxbury, Connecticut. The main element, the biggest counterpoint of the sculpture, you'll notice that it's folded over. You can see this folded over line here. He's taken a piece of the sheet metal and he's folded it back onto itself. And it's kind of it's a form of kind of visual trickery, where he's making the element smaller in its profile. And so we're kind of thrown off a little thrown off balance, because the question is, how can this small thing counterbalance all this other stuff? And the smaller he makes it, the bigger the question becomes. It's one of the works that is so much, in my mind, and how I've evolved to understand his work, is it's very musical. There are these little movements of activity that are like little pieces of music that come together. If you listen to classical music and you hear these things that are repetitions from 3 minutes ago that reappear, and these views and that space, like the musical space, is very much the way we perceive a mobile, and especially this one. He had this realization that something was had stopped the motion, or stopped the composition, or something had stopped, and so he drilled a bunch of holes in one of the elements that lets light through and gives it this kind of permeability. But that permeability is the thing that actually enters us into this kind of realm of how does something dissolve and appear into the 3D realm from another dimension. That's really the exciting part of that sculpture, and the use of those elements is permeability, that something can phase into our reality.